And he's back. We got Sheets back. Bobby Fi here. We're going to be talking about this NBA slate. It's a monster. It's a 14 gamer. Of course, it's the one where the last really big slate, second to last slate overall before the All-Star break, and it's a big one. It's a million. You got the million for first tournament tonight, but maybe you should give 2 million for first for how tough this slate's going to be. There's going to be lots of value, regardless of whether or not you're seeing it now. There will be a ton of it, and it's going to be wild. So I'm looking forward to it. Came close again last night with a fifth in the 777. I played 2 entries in there and had a nice little run. I had one thing I did that I swapped onto it. It's another proof of late swap is just getting all of the bull. And most people didn't have that even available. You left to them. A lot of people used just the first 3 games. But bull was he was going to play, but he was not supposed to start necessarily. And he ended up having like 50 plus fantasy points at 4,300, which and he was 8% owned in the 777. So that was what launched me yesterday in a big way, as well as Durant being way under owned at like 13%, which that was another big take I had was Durant was going to score over 50 fantasy points, and it worked out well. Had a good night overall. Sheets, how are you doing? And then we'll jump into this slate.
Doing all right. So is the NBA like, when is it going to actually get started? In other words, like I feel as though for the last like 3 weeks, it's either been like trade rumors, trade talks, guys sitting because of trades, trade deadlines, and now it's like All-Star break, sitting for All-Star break, pissed because of the All-Star break. This. It's like after the All-Star break, the teams are going to actually be together and playing to win, and at least for a little while and stuff like that.
I think so.
All this bullshit, you know what I mean? Like maybe I'm just hallucinating. It's just like this every day, all 82 games. But there has to be kind of like a regular season, right? There has to be like a period of time where the teams are playing each other,
Yeah.
and same teams. And they're playing each other and they're trying to win, and okay, some teams are tanking, whatever. That is what it is. But I guess after the All-Star break, because now people are sitting for the All-Star break or pissed because of the All-Star break or whatever it is. But after the All-Star break, I think the season can resume.
The season can resume, and it's going to last for about 10 days, and then it'll go crazy again. But that's just what happens. It's the nature of this game, and it does pay. I mean, look, it's taken more work. It takes more time. You gotta be on some things. You got to be willing. You don't have to be willing to. You could use the projections and everything like that. But like last night, that was one of the things that the late swap allows you to do. Is I just gave Bull a giant projection because I knew the ceiling was really high, and I bumped him up like 7 points or something, which is a pretty big number for a guy who's 4,300. So of course I got to all of them. But if you can find little things like that, and it's not necessarily going to be the same exact one play every night. I mentioned it in our Discord, and we've had some, good. We're doing little Discord shows now, both before and after lock, and I do think it's really helpful to really just stay on top of it. It's kind of frustrating. It's not always the most fun, but it certainly can be worthwhile if you're doing it the right way. So I guess that's what I had to say about that. And since I leaned into this changing the projections rather than my min-max exposures, it's just been a whole world of difference in terms of what kind of lineups I'm getting and making a lot more sense to me. So really finding a way to try and put my imprint on the slate on what the projections already say by just making a few different guys or sometimes as much as 12 different guys, maybe even more. Just changing the projections to a little bit more where making sure I get more exposure to them. With that said, do you want to get into the first game?
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Okay. And as a reminder, if you didn't see it in the Discord, if you're watching this for free or whatever, at 10:45 tonight, I'm gonna go live, and what I'm gonna do is a couple of things. Number one, I'm gonna go through the lobbies of the Millie Maker, to see who's doing well and experiment with using SaberSim and other tools to kind of gauge live ROI and stuff like that, and things like that. And part of it is for sweat purposes, and others, I'm really trying to work on this new tool to try to value lineups and stuff like that. So it helps. So we'll have some fun looking at that, and then I'm going to do a live PGA lineup build. Bobby and I are going to be doing a PGA look today after this. But I'm going to be doing my actual lineup builds after, once we determine that nobody I know is winning the Millie Maker, which is probably going to be pretty quick. But it should be an interesting night. So 10:45 on the YouTube channel, and that's free.
Awesome. Yes, and I will. As I always say, I'll do my best to join. Some of the nights get a little bit tough, but the night tonight should be around, so I'll at least pop in and say hello.
One thing you'll notice, by the way, if you're looking again, it's new. SaberSim has been very slow to get ownership projections up here. Like you see, like some of them are like almost zero. They had like zeros like pretty recently, actually. I guess they're starting to fill them in. Like Wembanyama, even though he's 12-1, he's going to be more than 0.7% owned. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's possible on this slate that he is only. I mean, you're right. He's probably more than that, but I don't know. It's a huge slate, and it's rough. I guess we can start off with that as a starting point. Because I built some lineups beforehand and really got to absolutely nothing on the Spurs. I do always bump up Wembanyama's projection in general. I still don't think I'm going to get to any of them, even at like 55. He's 11K on DraftKings. It's reasonable enough. It's just you got to hope the game stays close against Boston, which is doable. They don't really have a good matchup for him, which is also a good sign. I think he's kind of interesting, and I think Horford on the other side is kind of interesting. We have Jaylen Brown questionable. Drew Holiday is still out. So right now I just have Horford and potentially I get to Wemby, but are you seeing much in this first game?
No, I'm really not. I'm going to do like a sample build as this is going on. But again, these are really early projections and stuff. But like you said, it is an enormous slate. Right now, I mean, you mentioned there's going to be a lot of value. Like what I'm seeing right now is a lot of value that's not great, but there's a lot of it. Like So a lot of like near 6x-ish type value. Nothing like 7 or 8x, but you do have guys to choose from, like in that bucket. Okay,
right.
I'm looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, like eight guys like nearing 6x that are under 6K, like for example.
Yep.
And we'll get to those when we get to them. So you can be kind of greedy with some of these games. I mean, listen, this could be a good real life game. Maybe like you get a good Wemby game. I think they can keep it close. Why not? But like you said, I think that if they do keep it close, it's going to be because Wemby had a big game.
Right.
That's so if you want to play like a Celtic in there somehow, you can. But I don't know, man. Big slate. I'm probably staying away from it.
Yeah, and Horford feels a little bit chasey. He had a good game the other night, but I also think that with these guys down, if he ends up back in the starting lineup, I kind of like the idea of maybe a little bit of that at 4,400. But as we'll see when we go through there's going to be other things we're waiting on that are going to dictate a lot more of what we do. All right, Charlotte in Orlando. You want to start this one off?
Oh my God, it's a 15-game slate, and this is like a 2-cent total. But yet, I'm getting Nick Smith Jr. as a 6x projection. Like how can that be? It's KJ Simpson 5.5x. I don't know about this, but I mean, I'm reporting what I'm reporting. Nick Smith looks like a good play. Orlando, not really seeing too much. But look, right off the bat, first lineup there, Simpson and Smith together. Without I haven't like simmed or anything like that. And this is really early, but this is kind of crazy. I don't know. You like anything? I mean, obviously these guys are standing out. You like them?
So I think it's hard to ignore it. Like they're just so down on bodies, like that are actually can actually do anything. That I think that I will probably have some of it because before like Simpson, there was Misic and LaMelo. Obviously, no LaMelo tonight. Nick Smith has had a really nice game, a couple of really nice games with LaMelo, and he's going to look great without him. I warn everybody, there's definitely a bust path here, but doesn't mean that I'm not going to get to some of them. And then I think large field tournament plays are Daquan Jeffries, Saloon, and as a spend up, Miles Bridges. It's just such a bad matchup. Otherwise, I would just be like, let's plug Bridges in. We have no LaMelo. We have nothing else in this team. No Mark Williams, obviously, although he's supposed to be back soon. Diabate is we'll wait to see if he plays, but he would be another one I could talk myself into. And at first glance, I'm getting a little bit of Jonathan Isaac and Anthony Black. I think I probably end up off of that and probably just take a shot on either one of Paolo or one of Franz. It's been Franz more so than Paolo lately. But those are the two guys whose projections I don't mind bumping up a little bit from this game. But yeah, not trying to get to any of it, but probably going to end up with Nick Smith and Simpson a decent amount unless we get other value, which we probably will.
So this one's kind of fun. So Thomas Bryant's been revitalized, I guess, because of Miles Turner being out. He's been having some good games, and he's projecting as the top point per dollar play on the slate at 5,000, which makes him a really strong play. And if you needed anything else, I mean, he's going back to Washington.
Yep.
You don't need it, but certainly couldn't hurt. And normally there's like all these centers that I have to worry about. I mean, I'm not really seeing it today. I mean, I have some centers that look okay. Like even I mean, Klingon is going to be decent value, I guess. Actually, that's pretty good value, actually. So Klingon's going to be good value. You could end up paying up for Towns, but Brian at 5K looks pretty good, man. The normal blowout risk when Washington involved, but aside from that, I mean, he looks good. Keyshawn George is like the only guy showing up for me for Washington. Even that's not too much. Let me see if anybody's like kind of a spend up here. No, nothing really. So that's Thomas Bryant looks like a really strong play.
Yeah, a little worried about the back-to-back for him, but it's hard to ignore. It's 5K. It's a closer to a fair price. It's not like 3,400. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be thinking about it. But yeah, I have him as a guy. I think that it's interesting if you think about him versus Diabate. Diabate's in the worst matchup, but Diabate's actually been like the better fantasy producer when they've given him the minutes, and they have shown the ability to give him the minutes. He only played 26 the other night because he got hurt for a stretch. So Diabate versus Bryant is one way you can think about getting a little bit different. Bryant's obviously going to be significantly higher owned. I also do like Siakam. Again, it's a huge plus matchup playing both these teams. So I like Halliburton a little bit. I have all those guys above 10%. And I think Obi Toppin, who was in my 5th place lineup and he didn't do much last night. I think he's a pivot off of Thomas Bryant on a back-to-back, but it is against Washington, his old team. It's a great matchup. Indiana's trying to win games. You'd think they would just let Thomas Bryant play. But as of right now, unless we hear Miles Turner jumps back into the mix, I think we're playing him. The one that's interesting on the other side is another pivot off of Bryant is Vukcevic. They lowered his price, and just as they did, they haven't really given him more than those 20 minutes, but he had 33 fantasy points the other night. It's not a desired play. It's just I don't mind if I ended up with a tiny bit. And as usual, with the way they're currently constructed, Jordan Poole is showing up. I think the rest of Washington is kind of interesting too. Koulibaly is a little bit expensive, but I think he's kind of interesting. Keyshawn George, as you mentioned, makes some sense. But the one guy whose projection I'm bumping up a little bit is Koulibaly because I think there's a lot of upside for him there, and I love him. I love the up-pace matchups. So yeah, this game is definitely interesting. But on other slates, I think we'd be all over it. In this case, I do have 4 guys over 10% in the game, but that's all I can get to because there's just a lot of plays in this slate. All right, next up, Philly Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean, do we expect Embiid to play or no?
No, he played yesterday.
Okay.
And he doesn't play the back-to-backs really. So, and it's sort of baked into this. I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess they shouldn't. They're 3-point favorites. So that.
Who did they play? Who did they play yesterday?
They played French of Toronto, and they lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why on earth wouldn't they have them? If you're going to play back-to-back anyway, they should have them play Brooklyn and the Knicks as opposed to Toronto, Brooklyn. But
yeah, I guess the only justification that one was at home, I guess. And I think Toronto is about the same as Brooklyn. They're both bad teams,
I was making a scheduling complaint.
Oh yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I'm guessing like there's not a whole lot showing up here for me on the Philly side or on the Brooklyn side as of right now. I think you could maybe consider like Paul George and Maxey with no no Embiid, but as of right now, I'm not really getting to much. Are you?
Nothing. I mean, literally nothing.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think I may bump up Paul George and Maxi's projection just a little bit, just because I feel like it's a little. I feel like there's plenty of upside for them here, and it's not a fast-paced game, but I think they're both reasonable to take shots on. We've both seen them go. We've seen them go nuts without Embiid, especially Maxi. Bowman is the only one showing up for me for Brooklyn, but look, you have Trenton Watford, Day'Ron Sharp, who's been looks pretty good. Those guys I can consider, but I just think it's the wrong slate. I think there's just too many things. Now, if Nick Claxton is out, everything changes. He's questionable. Then we're talking about Watford and Day'Ron Sharp as being very good plays versus being borderline plays at all. All right. Cleveland in Toronto.
So this is another like kind of a funny one. So I currently have all kinds of Toronto exposure in initial builds from Quickly, who I have a Q tag on anyway, but Quickly, Grady Dick, and Scotty Barnes. And yet, I mean, yeah, I know Cleveland plays fast or whatever, but do I really want to play all those guys as chalk? I don't know. Not to mention they're a 14-point underdog.
On a back-to-back.
On a back-to-back.
With travel.
With travel. So it's well, no, it wouldn't be travel, right? Because
they played in Philly last night. Now they're playing
in Philly last night? Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes more sense then. I thought Philly had to go to Toronto and then to New York. Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Not an easy game to be playing these guys that I imagine is pretty substantial ownership if I'm getting these guys also myself. But I don't know, they're showing up for me right now. And in Cleveland, I'm not really seeing too much at all.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on Cleveland at first with my first runs. I look, the Grady Dick thing, it worked out yesterday. He got
he finally did it? Okay.
He had like -1 fantasy points with like a few minutes to go in the second quarter or something. Maybe it was like 6 minutes to go. But ended up with 30, which is at his price is totally reasonable. Quickly, I don't think he's going to play for what it's worth, just because it's a back-to-back and he hasn't played a back-to-back since the injury. So it's possible that he plays. And if he does, I think I'd roll with it because I don't think he's going to like play like 24 minutes, maybe in some sort of a blowout path, but he would be one of the guys off the court quickly if they do get smashed. And then Mogbo is like another pivot you could think about off of the other guys. I just don't like him as much. And Scotty Barnes may end up looking like an incredible play if you lose quickly. Scotty Barnes gets there all the time, man. Like he really does. He put up 56 last night. I know he had like a little bit of a recent drought, but before that. But I do think that those guys are all in play. But Dick is the one that I'm probably going to be the highest on, and I don't like it. I'm hoping for more value because I do think there's a bust path. But if Quickly does end up sitting, we might be talking about Jacoby Walter, some other things. So that's something to keep an eye out for the 6 p.m. And I will just say right now for the 6 p.m. because it's the millionaire thing, and I've got a few entries in there because I actually won a couple of them. I'm gonna be out of here probably a little bit earlier than usual because I want to get my max builds in, let the people on the site know what we're doing, and then I also want to get my hand builds done. Last night was a hand build that almost got there, so I've reconvinced myself I can do this hand building.
Awesome.
All right, Atlanta in New York, and we know what the first question should be here, Sheets. How much do we bump Trey up?
A lot, Yeah. And you know what? As some guys used to say, I mean, you don't need too much of him to get over the field.
Right.
I'm barely seeing him on my board, much less anything owned. So he's got big upside in New York. And also, though, New York's been playing pretty damn well.
No,
so they can get run out of the building also. It's also in the cards. Was last night the Knicks played, right? Knicks played in Philly.
The Knicks played, the Knicks played in where did they play? Who did they play? They played again in Indy.
Right. And they Brunson had a bunch of fouls, if I think, which caused him to miss quite a bit. And as a result, I don't know why this is a bad projection because it's already changed. But I was kind of getting excited about it for a little while. I was getting an oversized projection on Cameron Payne for some reason, but I think that's already normalized. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But you want to play Cat on a back-to-back? Maybe. I mean, he could still play 44 minutes. You know what I mean? Like it's certainly possible. Brunson, having fought through the foul trouble, I think he could be primed for a good game. I don't know how many minutes he played actually at the end of the day, but I mean, you want to play Trey and Jalen Brunson? I think that could definitely happen. You know what I mean? Like that could be a thing where you could get 120 between the two of them. Maybe not 20, but you can get a number. Maybe you need 120 though. Maybe you know what I mean. Like maybe you shouldn't do that. But Brunson 8,400, I think is pretty cheap. Anyway, I do like both those guys. I'm not really getting to much other than like the big guys. Cat or Trey. And we have to. I'm gonna have to force Trey in. Okay. And I'll have to just see this Cameron Payne business. I'm sure he's going to drop off.
Yeah, I don't see it the same with him right now. I do. I think Okongwu is a thin play. I think you can use. I think Levert. We still don't really know exactly what kind of role they're going to let him have. He looked good in the last game against Orlando. He had 32 fantasy points. Took a bunch of shots. Still didn't have a great crazy usage. I like Trey, and I bumped his projection up. I'm just going to point out Dyson Daniels. I said this every single day basically now is that Dyson Daniels was projected at 30 fantasy points. Dyson Daniels in his last 13 games has been below 30 one time. He's been below 33 one time. He's been at 33 or above while averaging 42, and every day he's projected for 30 fantasy points. And pretty much it's not like it gets a little higher with other sites, but usually it's like 30, 33, 34. It's just too low of a projection to have him at 30. That's all I'd say. I don't know that I'd even end up getting to him, but the projection is wrong. We can't look at it as his median. It's just ridiculous. Cat is the one who makes the most sense to me. Outside, he and Brunson, I think, are pretty close. I think this projection, the fantasy point projection on him might be a little bit high for a median. He's been great, so it's hard to argue too much with it. But I would lean towards raising Brunson's projection, dropping Cat's a little bit. We still don't know about Anunoby. This, as I mentioned about last night with Josh Hart, who can also go back-to-back games with like playing 500 minutes. I just think you want to try to get Josh Hart in any fast-paced game, and Atlanta certainly qualifies. So, especially if Anunoby's out, and then if Anunoby's out again, you're looking at McBride for potential value, and potentially Campaign as potential value. So, and Precious as a solid play instead of an unplayable. So really, it depends on Anunoby for them. But I think that I think Brunson and Towns are both in decent spots either way. It's just a matter of back-to-back. Will they limit them? Probably less so they would with New York than most teams. Boy, Miami at OKC. If you would have said just a couple years ago there'd ever be a Miami 2-touchdown underdog to somebody, I don't think we would have been seeing this one coming, but certainly makes sense with where they are now. Are you getting too much over here, Sheets?
No. I mean, OKC, you can't score on them in my, you know what I mean? Like, I'm probably, if anything, I guess really nothing. I mean, you can play Shea, and then he'll get 58, and if on a good day, and not play the fourth quarter. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not really getting much of anything here.
Yeah, it really depends on where you look, because one, we don't know about Hero yet, and Jaquez. If both of them are out, then you need shot creation. And they started Alec Burks in the last game. He's 3,500. We'll see if they go back to it. He was one of the guys who played really well the last two games. He put up 24 and 23 at 3,500. I'd be happy with that at the moment. Like I said, lots of value, but the value is not like screaming value. It's like the 4K plus value. But as of right now, I am not getting too much on the Miami side. We'll wait to see on those injuries, and then nothing on OKC that jumps out. If there was anything, it would be Hartenstein, but ready to move on from that one. All right, Detroit at Chicago, round 2. Just for those of you who weren't here, this game happened yesterday. We had this already, And we're seeing it again. For those of you also who don't know, the score at halftime was in Chicago. Detroit 71, Chicago 29 was the score at halftime. And it didn't get any better in the second half.
It get up to 50, I think, at some point.
Yeah, I think it did.
Well, so we're gonna have to do this, unfortunately. So Chicago +6.
Yeah, is it a lock?
We're gonna be doing this for sure. So that's just would not live myself in the morning if that did not get put in.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So with respect to DFS, I'm not really getting it too much. I was looking at Detroit. Detroit in general is not bad. As a team this year.
No, they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Cade, I guess I'm getting a little bit of. I didn't even realize Kevin Herter's on Chicago.
I know. He was the value player yesterday.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
And Detroit, there was also listen, you could play. I'll tell you, I watched a little of that game. You know who was not too impressive to me was this R. Holland guy.
Yeah, he's still young. He's gonna have the hit or miss moments.
Okay, so listen, got to play somebody. It's a 1,500 game slate, but I'm kind of off of this game.
So I bumped up. I just go through the same thing I said about the other projections. Asar Thompson has in this new role as a starter and everything like this. He's projected. They have him projected. Saver Sim's got him projected at 26 fantasy points. Here are his games in this role: 27, 28, 32, 34, 35, 36. And 4 of those games were blowouts that cost him some minutes. So I'm putting if you don't project him at least 30, I think it's a mistake. Now, when you project him at 30, you're going to get him. So I'm very happy to get him. Jalen Duren didn't get there because of the blowout last night as well. He played 22 minutes instead of his normal 30 plus. I will play Jalen Duren again. I don't know how much of each of those guys, but those are my 2 favorites. Next would be, and I'm not doing this slate, but would be Tobias Harris, or Cade would be great. It's just hard to afford him. I am getting to a good amount of Vooch on the other side. I'm not entirely sure I agree with this. Lonzo should be back for this game. Lonzo's the one I could talk myself into. He sat out. He didn't play on the back-to-back, and the other guys were terrible. I don't know. Maybe I get to Lonzo. Maybe I get to some Vooch, but that's pretty much it. It's another great pace game if it can stay close, which sounds so stupid to say because it's in Chicago. But man, yesterday that was just the beatdown of beatdowns. The odds of that happening again, I would put as very, very slim. All right. Anyway, Sacramento in New Orleans.
Sacramento in New Orleans. As far as my runs go, I'm really not getting much. You know what? I'm getting a little bit of Zion. I don't know if I've ever won any money playing him, but I always get like 15% of him. Right now, that's what I'm getting. Anything from Sacramento I'm getting here? No. Sabonis. What am I getting of Sabonis? 10%? Zach. Okay, I will just say this. Listen, I know it's a new team and like the whole all that, but Zach LaVine's only 7,300. That can't be that bad, can it? I don't know. What do you think here?
What about DeMar DeRozan, my hero from the other night, who put up 60? He's 7K. I have no issue trying to get if I got to Monk, LaVine, Sabonis, or DeRozan, but I'm not going out of my way for it.
Wait. Hold on a second here. So the Sacramento Kings have DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine and Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Are they good?
They're in the same playoff bubble that Dallas is in, for example.
Okay.
They're all going to fight for that spot. But the thing is, it's basically they have the old Bulls with LaVine and DeRozan, but instead of Vooch and what's his name, little bald guy who looks like Osimo, they have Sabonis and Monk. So they've got some offensive firepower. Even guys like Keon Ellis will probably show up a little bit for some people. It's all very thin. I'd rather give a little bit of a bump to these later games anyway, just to have a chance in case there's something we don't know. I think Monk, LaVine, and Sabonis are all fine. I think DeRozan is certainly fine. I just don't feel like I'm trying to get to any of them personally. Nobody who's a priority for me. And On the New Orleans side, on the other hand, I actually do like this Missy play. SaberSim always gives him a much higher projection than everybody else does, and I kind of like it. I think that he could play, again, they got smoked in one of their recent games too. He hasn't really put up the monster numbers, but the eye test, he looks good. He's missed some shots. He missed like a bunch of free throws the other night or something like that. But he's 5,200, and he's another one in that range where if you want to pivot off of the super chalk in Bryant, I think he's totally viable. And I think Zion is getting closer to the point to being viable. It's just so hard to play a guy that plays like 28 minutes on this kind of a slate. Carlo Matkovic has been starting for them.
Who?
He probably won't start tonight because they have they have McCollum back, or McCollum should be back. But if McCollum is out again, this Carlo Matkovic, who I watched him play the other night. He looked pretty good. He's put up 27 or more, or 26 or more in 3 out of the 4 games where he had a real chance to play. So I'm open to that idea, but as of right now, it's really just Missy or nothing for me on the New Orleans side. All right, Milwaukee in Minnesota.
Well, this was actually something that was really fun. So I was looking a couple of nights ago. You had Damian Lillard, who played 42 minutes the night before.
Yep.
And he was like listed as questionable for like injury management or something. I would have laid 10-1 that he sat. And
the projections would have too.
And he played.
Yeah.
The guy's awesome. You know what I mean? The guy's just great.
Yeah.
I don't know how Hall of Fame stuff works, but I would imagine that Lillard would be.
Yeah, I think he's going to be in there.
Yeah. Just great player, great leader, great teammate, great everything. Just always shows up to play.
Mm-hmm.
Except when he goes to Portland for some reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. I suppose that Portis again looks like a good play. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Lillard. Who else am I even getting to here? I mean, I'm doing a whole new run here because I don't like any of these projections. But Lillard, Portis, that's pretty much all I'm getting from this whole game. I mean, what do you like?
Yeah, it's weird. I'm not getting much without Giannis. There should be more. Lillard is officially questionable, but I'm assuming he's going to play. I think Lillard might just be that simple of an answer, to be honest. It's not an ideal matchup by any means. Kuzma was 5,300 the other day and was 80% owned, and barely got there. He got to 27 like very late in the game. That was rough. I think that there's a play to make to gamble on. We gamble on the upside of Bobby Portis. That would be my take. Is he's the one I think I'd have the most interest in, along with Lillard. And Lillard's at low ownership, and it's almost not a great matchup. But look at Lillard's usage and look at his production without Giannis. I mean, every day over 32% usage, 39 in the last game. And he's put up 58, 51, 69, and 53. And I know it's Minnesota. Again, a little bit of a tougher matchup, but why isn't he projected for 50?
What is Anthony Edwards' price nowadays?
So he's the one I was going to mention. He's just tearing up the entire league right now. He's questionable. Really? He's 9,500. He's been absolutely incredible. He's just every game. So 5 out of his last 6, he's been over 55. He's had 3 of them over 60, 2 of them at 69, 40 real life points multiple times. I think he might have gotten to 50 in one of those. If he didn't, it was 49 that he ended up with. I think Edwards is another one we could in a good pace matchup put at 50. Maybe just an Edwards and Lillard is not the worst idea. I also think that Naz Reid has some upside in this matchup too. So I'm not going to write off this game. This is another one that I think is a little bit interesting, especially from the Minnesota side. But then you add to no Giannis. I mean, somebody probably goes nuts. Whether it be, my guess is either Portis or Lillard. But maybe you get that weird Kuzma game. All right, Phoenix in Houston. Here's the Bowl situation.
Bowl on the back-to-back from 8% owned to 40 in like one. It's like
yep.
And in Houston's no bargain either. I'm just inclined to watch the ownership too. I mean, if he's really chalky, I'll probably I'm going to hope I don't get too much of it. I mean, I could be at market weight, but I'm not going to go crazy with the Bowl. By the way, I met Bull. He worked out at Highland Garden in New York once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was looking like, who the hell is that guy? And someone told me it's my new Bull's son.
He's pretty skilled when you watch him play.
Oh yeah, yeah. But he looks like a very, very strong point per dollar play, and he looks right now like the only one for this game that looks like a strong point per dollar play. Let me just see. Houston. No, I mean, you want to go back to who's that guy from Houston we keep playing? Is he 10K yet? I'm in Thompson.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll get into that one in a minute. I still haven't even looked at their side at the moment because I am going to do the bull thing. I don't really know what the argument is for not doing it. Like, I could argue his projections are low. When he started, I think he averages like $1 million. I mean, he's put up 52 and 40 his last 2 games. And
yeah, it's tough.
If it doesn't work out, it's like if there's a guy you might need, it could be him. Now it is a back-to-back where he played an unusual high number of minutes and they lost the game. So there's a chance that like maybe they could mess with the starting lineup just for that purpose. Just something to consider. But I'm personally probably going to get to a decent amount of them, and it's just going to be hard. It's hard not to do it. The ones that are interesting to me, and Kevin Durant played 42 minutes last night. He plays a ton of minutes in general, but on a back-to-back, I'm a little concerned about Kevin Durant's minutes. However, they made his projection on SaberSim 40 fantasy points. Last night he was projected at 47, and I bumped it up to 50. I don't know why it's 40. That seems a little low. And he was projected higher than Booker, and now Booker's projected significantly higher than him. Maybe it is the minutes, and that's what it is, and the age and everything. But that seems like all it is because Booker played 39 minutes also last night. I still like the idea of, if you can, trying to get to one of these guys, at least some. So I'm going to bump their projection up. But again, it's a big slate, so I don't need to go crazy. The other one that I think is being way underprojected is Tyus Jones. I think Tyus Jones should be projected at least 25, probably higher. Without Brad, did I miss something? Unless Bradley Beal's it. Yeah, he's officially out tonight. Okay. If Bradley Beal were, because they said through the All-Star break, with Bradley Beal out, he put up 37, 36, 32 his last 3 games. I'm not really sure why we wouldn't be playing Tyus Jones at a higher clip. So I'm going to bump his projection up a pretty healthy amount. So I guess Tyus Jones, Bull, then Booker, then Durant for me. But I have a little more interest than the field does. And, this game could be competitive. We'll see. I do like we have Şengün. So still no Van Vliet, and they just don't make him expensive enough for me. So I'm willing to always sort of just engage in this. Sorry, not Şengün. Did they make him enough? No, Amin Thompson. And his projection's never enough to me. So I actually think Şengün is okay, but I really like the idea of playing some Amin Thompson. I bumped his projection up a healthy amount, 40 to 45. I just feel good about having him when there's no. I think having one of Şengün and Amin Thompson is a very basic. Oh, that's just a good idea to do when Van Vliet is out, and especially Thompson. So I like those two from Houston.
And you know what? You give Phoenix a pass from last time. They did lose to the second best team in the NBA, like Memphis. I mean, Memphis is ridiculous.
Yeah, Memphis is good. And Phoenix made a hell of a comeback, which I was very happy to see because that gave me a chance. Yeah.
You have Bane is active. You have and Moran was playing minutes last night too.
Mm-hmm.
Moran was playing minutes. The team is tough. The team is they're not the best team in the NBA, but they're second.
They are. I don't think they're second, but they're good though. I'd have them like around 4 or 5. But I like the bet sheets. You can get some great odds if we think they're second. So LA and Utah. I'm going to start this one off.
We're going to get to the best team in the NBA shortly, obviously.
The Lakers.
All right. So Lakers against who are they playing tonight? Utah. Again,
they just played them.
Now wait a minute. So is Luka in?
Yeah.
Okay, it was really weird. I was getting a wild projection on someone earlier, and now thankfully I'm not anymore.
He's questionable tonight. He did play the other night.
Who?
Luka.
Oh, I was getting a weird projection on Jordan Goodwin.
No, you're still going to get it.
Oh no. Oh,
it's a decision we have to make today.
Oh no. I don't want to
And
do that.
it's not like even just going back to before he started playing regularly here, he just started smashing. Like he's got a huge range of outcomes, but I mean, I know it was a different team and they sucked and everything, but he's putting up 28, 59. Oh, those are last year. Those last time he played. I mean, look, dude, I don't know what to do with this one. He played 33 minutes in the last game. I'm sorry, he played 21 minutes, put up 33 points. It's probably the wrong thing to do. The only thing that's good about it is it's a late swap thing. So by then, hopefully you hear about some other stuff because I don't really want to do it either. He looked great. I don't know why he's even a thing, to be honest with you.
Right now, fortunately, I'm not getting it.
Good. His projection feels a little ambitious. I forgot those numbers I was looking at were old numbers. It's rough when you go through this many games. Sometimes you it's hard to keep track of some of the things. All right, let's just refresh.
So what's Luka? I mean, I'm not getting either Luka or LeBron. I mean, what are their prices?
They just something must have happened at shoot around because they just bumped Luka's projection up by 5 fantasy points, which means they bumped the minutes up, is my guess. And let me just double check that. Luka, they bumped him up to 33 almost instead of 28. He played 24 in the last game. It is Utah. You don't have to show off in Utah or whatever. He's 10-7. I think it's probably worth a stab, but I don't think you need to go out of your way to do it. I have to look at what the coach speak was from this morning's shoot around. Let's see. Nothing I've seen yet, but I'm sure there's something that happened that made the numbers change that much. Anyway, so I think Luka, it's going to, I'm not sure where it's going to end up, but it's probably going to be in the low 50s projection wise.
Yeah, I'm getting my fantasy point projection on Jordan Goodwin is not that bad. It's 22.75.
It's a little higher than SaberSim.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to be getting that much of him. We'll see.
Yeah, you don't. By the end of the day, you're probably not, is the answer.
Anything on Utah?
John Collins has looked really, really good to me. Look, there's no trade thing. They don't need to win games, but he looks good. It's not like he's done anything incredible in these games, but he's consistently in the high 30s, low 40s. He looks reasonable to me, but I don't think I need to do much with that. Walker Kessler is being wow, that's a high projection for Kessler. Walker Kessler has a massive ceiling, so he would be the other one. Jordan Clarkson, I tried the other night. It did not work out, partially just because they were getting killed, but that could happen easily again tonight. So nothing that shows up outside of Collins and Kessler for me right now for Utah.
So it seems as though rumors of the Blazers being the best team in the NBA were a little bit premature. They went into Minnesota and Denver and came out of there with 2 pretty easy losses. Yeah. But they don't get to leave Denver quite yet.
Yeah,
they lost by 30, and they had to hang around in Denver and keep themselves busy to take another beating. But maybe they don't. We're going to have to try this one also. So we're going to go and play the Blazers. Plus, what am I going to get? 11. Okay, I'm playing the best. I'm playing the best team in the NBA for straight.
Well, the other team that's been the best team in the NBA has been Denver.
That's right. I don't want a parlay. I want a straight bet on the Blazers. Okay, we just kind of have to do that. All right, so that's all right. Yeah, Denver has been playing very, very well. You just don't know who's playing for them, like almost ever. Between the Michael Porter Juniors and the Jamal Murrays, I presume that they're all still questionable. Or no?
I always start with the roadside, so I was going through.
Okay. So let's start with the roadside. No. With the roadside, I actually right now have Anthony Simons as my second highest owned player.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm getting like 44% of him in my most recent run, which just happened live. You guys didn't even notice it. And I'm also getting a bunch of the Avdia, who was once my hero a few weeks ago. So Simons, Avdia, obviously, Jokic is always in play, but I'm currently not getting to him. But yeah, I do like both those guys. I like Abdia and I like Simons.
Yeah, so I just bumped up every player playing for these guys. I don't see, so they're missing Scoot Henderson and DeAndre Ayton. They have Robert Williams.
That was that guy. Okay.
Yeah, Robert Williams, Jeremy Grant, and Chris Murray all questionable. Look, Delano Banton was my guy the other night because when I saw that they were sitting Jeremy Grant, I was like, okay, well, if they get smoked in this game, it's going to be the Banton show, and it was. He put up 34 fantasy, almost 35 fantasy points at 4K or 3,800, whatever it was that night. I don't see why we're not going to go back to this. So I bumped up Klingon's projection a little bit.
Yeah.
I bumped up Anthony Simons is the one I actually feel the least good about. It's the same guy all the time. I think Shaden Sharp is a great tournament play today. I think Delano Banton's a great tournament play. And I think that Denny Avdia is an excellent tournament play. So those are the ones that I'm going to be the most focused on. I do think having Scoot and Ayton out is a big deal. And I don't think it's just Robert Williams or Klingon conversation, although they're both part of the conversation. But I think we want to do stuff like this. And also it's a late game. We can always swap off based on who's in or who's out. But if for some reason we lose Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams, and Chris Murray, then all of these other guys I just mentioned become like 6X plus plays for like each of them. So I really like the idea of being overweight the Portland side. On the Denver side, as always, it's a phenomenal matchup for Jokic. I will bump up his projection because I really think it's only like blowouts that are not going to get him there. If Porter Jr. is out again, which it seems like it'd be a good time to sit him, I'm happy to go back to Gordon, Braun, Strother. All those guys look good to me. So that's where I'm at. But as of right now, it's just easy to make Jokic the priority because if everybody else plays, not a ton of interest, except for maybe to say Christian Braun has got a massive ceiling. So he would be probably my highest level one.
So it's a shame. So if you didn't want to play the second best team in the NBA is Memphis. We said that the best team in the NBA. No. Best team was the Blazers. So we have Blazers, Memphis, and then Denver, sure, the Lakers. And if we're going to look at the best player in the NBA, I mean, it's a shame that he has ankle issues, but PJ Washington is obviously the best player in the NBA, and he's playing in the last game. Boy, what happened? He got hurt. That stinks.
Yeah. So
he got hurt, and now it's the front end of a back-to-back. Yeah, but I have to say that I'm getting a ton of them.
They need to win games, so they're gonna. I think if he's good to go, they're gonna try to play him.
Yeah, so I'm getting a ton of them, and in addition to that, God help me, I'm getting a unhealthy amount of Moses, and I don't mean Brown. I have the unhealthy amount of the Moses Moody. So listen, if you didn't like any of the other stuff, I mean, you will show up for a late night sweat, and you're gonna get like Sheets maybe sweating some best team in the NBA Blazers, some best player in the NBA PJ Washington, praying to Moses, the wrong Moses, to get there. I mean, they got all kinds of stuff going on late in the slate. So I am getting to the Moody. Now, if you want another guy, it's not the exact same. Not going back to Golden State, but I'll tell you, freaking Clay has been flashing. Is he? What's going on with him? Is he playing?
Yeah.
He's
still on.
He has definitely flashed signs. He's flashed like a half of signs or whatever it is. He just can't put the whole game together. All right, forget that. But I do like the goal. PJ
against Golden State. I mean,
yeah, I do like the PJ Washington. I do like the Moses Moody, and anything for you?
PJ Washington is the only one I started off with from Dallas, but I'm bumping up this whole game. Again, last game on the DraftKings slate, we can get 6x out of. I got my projection up to a 6x projection on Moody, but I really like the other guys. Buddy Hield's going to be low owned, but Jimmy Butler should be. I mean, we don't know what he is as. All he's done is looked like the best player in the NBA's first two games with Golden State as they've gone on to just route people. Well, he and Steph have looked like the two best players, like the perfect complement for each other. I think Jimmy Butler we should bump up his projection to 40. I think that Steph Curry's projection should be closer to 47. He's been on fire right now. So I really like the idea of just going over this game, and I can always adjust on my late swapping. But I bumped up all the top 6 for Golden State, and then I bumped up Klay Thompson, Kyrie, and Exum on the other side. If we found out that Exum, but especially if PJ Washington was out, Kyrie would become one of my favorite plays in the slate. I loved him the other night. No one wanted to play him. He put up 58, and I feel like the same kind of thing you might be getting from him tonight. So that's sort of where I'm at. So we'll go through it quickly at 6 Eastern. Probably for me, it'll be like 25 minutes to 30 because it's so many games and everything, and I've got to try to get my stuff.
So what have we learned here?
We've learned that there are a lot of plays, and that for me, Bol, even with the chalk, Thomas Bryant, but then the later games, like guys like Denny Avdia, a lot of that Portland game, a lot of that Golden State game for me, a lot of the some of the Dallas potentially, depending on Washington or just Washington. That's sort of the general theme that I had today.
So what we have now, we have like a new best players in the NBA. So now we have Jimmy Butler become the best player in the NBA again. PJ Washington. Who else did I say? Oh, Amin Thompson, definitely best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
And Bol has to be one of the best players in the NBA. So we're starting with these 4 as our core.
Yeah.
So that's what we've learned, and we've learned that I'm probably going to get a lot of exposure from these late games. We'll see.
Yeah. Yep, and that's probably what I'm going to do too. And I think it's always beneficial to be able to swap. I mean, look, last night is a 4-gamer, and all you had to do was just you needed the Bol news, you know.
I'll tell you, like even another reason. I mean, you're getting these Charlotte guys with a 7 cent total at like first game of the day. You know what I mean? Like at chalk. I don't know, man. It's gonna be a tough sell for me to like if I get lineups with portfolios like 65% of these guys. You know what I mean? Like some Nick Smith and the other guys. I might like do that thing I do where I just kind of rerun it with different settings just to see if I could force the process to get me something else. It's definitely not the way you're supposed to play, but I just don't know if you want to do that to pull all your eggs in a 7 p.m. no late swap game with a 95-point total. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you.
Toronto's no bargain either at 7:30.
No, that's right. It's but again, as the day goes on, I think we're going to get some more speculation. We've already got some guys downgraded. Damian Lillard was downgraded this morning to questionable officially. So if Damian Lillard's out, obviously that opens up more for the Bucks side. Probably worth it to try and plan to have some Bucks just in case Lillard is out. Little ones, Robinson and Rozier are questionable. That might mean we might be playing Alec Burks at 3,500 again. So we'll see.
Yeah, I got one other guy to throw in there, and then we'll get out of here and do golf. Hey, if you want to try the old idea of guys that fail at 40% to play them at 3 or whatever, you could try to play Jordan Poole.
I mentioned Poole earlier. I think that's actually very reasonable.
I mean, I see Malcolm Brogdon against his old team at 4,600, but I think Jordan Poole has a legit ceiling. Does he have a ceiling at 7,400?
Yeah, he just put up 60 the other day.
Yeah.
His usage is he had a usage of 45% that game. He had a usage of 32 and 31. I'll keep gambling on anybody with that kind of usage because he's not going to shoot 4 for 22 every night. He might do it most nights, but he's not going to do it every night. All right, should we bounce back and come back with some golf?
Yep, sounds good.
Right. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you guys at 6 Eastern.
We got one set up already?